everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Amanda N, and today we're going to talk about the coolest cemetery that I've ever heard of, the Meri Cemetery in Romania. Frankly, I think this place just deserves even more attention than it already has, and that's why I'm talking about it today. Meri Cemetery is basically the opposite of what you might think when you hear the word cemetery or graveyard. There's no crumbling old gray tombstones, but instead it's full of colorful portraits, and if you're reading the tombs themselves, then laughter too. The Meri Cemetery is located in the Sapanta village, Marumas County, and it's the place where those who depart from this world prefer to do so in a lighthearted tone. It's behind the Church of Assumption in this small town of only 5,000 people, and it's said that the tradition of painting these graves and decorating them with original poems about the deceased's manner of passing began in the 1930s with Ion Stan Pratas. Ion carved these cross graves until his death in 1977 when his mentee, Dumitru Pop, took on his work. As for what these graves say about these deaths, well, they're pretty hilarious. According to a Romania tourism site, Pop alone decides what the picture will portray and what the verse will say. These poems aren't irreverent, they don't mock the grave or its tenant, but some of them do seem, well, a touch indiscreet, telling witty stories of infidelities, indiscretions, and a fondness for alcohol. You'd think that some of the relatives might be miffed, but not so, Pop says. It's the real life of a person. If he likes to drink, you say that. If he likes to work, you say that. There's no hiding in a small town, he says, adding that no one has ever actually complained to him. The families want the true life of the person to be represented on the cross. The verses are generally written in the first person, and as you read them, you almost get the feeling that you're having a little conversation with the other side. You certainly sense that in some small way you've come to know the person. Take this one, for example. Here I rest, Stefan is my name. As long as I lived, I liked to drink. When my wife left me, I drank because I was sad. Then I drank more to make me happy, so it wasn't so bad. Then my wife left me because I got to drink. With my friends, I drank a lot, and now I'm still thirsty. So you who come to my resting place, leave a little wine here. As a very brief aside, I'm pretty sure that this does rhyme in Romanian. I'm not 100% sure, but of course in English, well, the translation doesn't. But as the source continues, even if you can't read Romanian, the simple paintings on the cross tell unmistakable tales of their own. There's one where a priest sits looking enviously at a group of men carousing at a nearby table, and another, a teacher works at his desk while casting a furtive glance at a woman sitting across the room. Many just show the everyday lives of guys working in the fields, women working in the home, or reflect the things that the deceased held dear, like family, friends, animals, and booze. Even Romania's dour communist rulers wanted in on the fun. One former party boss's grave shows him sitting at a table holding up the red hammer and sickle symbol. The inscription reads, "As long as I lived, I loved the party, and all my life I tried to help the people." My personal favorite is this one that says, "Underneath this heavy cross lies my mother-in-law poor. Try not to wake her up, for if she comes back home, she'll bite my head off." Personally, I'm of the mindset that we shouldn't take ourselves so seriously. Even in death, you're dead anyway, so who cares, right? But with all these interesting graves that Pop makes, I was curious about the roots of the tradition. Why did Ion start this in the first place? Well, we do know where this began, to at least some extent. Apparently, at the age of 14, he began carving crosses for the local cemetery. By 1935, when he was about 27, he started carving the clever or ironic poems done in a rough local dialect, as well as painting the deceased's image, often including how they died, into the cross itself. He developed a careful symbolism according to Atlas Obscura, where green represented life, yellow represented fertility, red for passion, and black for death. These colors were set against a deep blue, Sapanta blue, where Pastros was born, which to him represented hope, freedom, and the sky. White doves also represented the soul, a blackbird to represent tragic or a suspicious death. According to Ion Stan Patras's own memorial, he began making the crosses because he loved people, and he wanted to have people visit him even after he died. He definitely seems to have accomplished that, considering what a massively popular tourist site this has become. Probably one of the most popular in Romania. After all, it does stand to reason that you're more likely to visit a place that makes you smile as opposed to one that weighs you down, right? Romania is also known for their Black Sea resorts, castles, fortresses, medieval towns, though the Meri Cemetery is definitely an unusual tourist spot to say the least. Other cemeteries throughout the world that are incredibly well known are often known for their beautiful Gothic structures or views. Another, the Hallstatt, also in Romania, is famous because the graves overlook a tranquil lake, and the small chapel houses 1,200 skulls, more than half of which have been painted and sorted by family. The Chichi Castanago cemetery in Guatemala is definitely bright and colorful though, and steeped in Mayan tradition. According to my source, painted crosses and mausoleums symbolize who the deceased were in their life. For example, a turquoise grave indicates the deceased was a mother, while grandfathers are marked in yellow. Some graves, however, give up the tradition completely and are just painted in the departed's favorite color. The Chichi Castanago, as well as other cemeteries in Guatemala, are, as far as I can tell, the only other cemeteries in the world that really come close to the Mary Cemetery. Of course, I'm pretty sure the ones in Guatemala came first, though. There, the afterlife is to be celebrated. During the All Saints' Day on November 1st, also celebrated as Day of the Dead, the cemetery becomes the focal point for rituals and prayer for those who've passed on. The locals, dressed up in colorful clothing, head to the cemetery to spend the day cleaning and tending to the graves and decorating them with flowers, and have picnics right next to their departed family members. Another tradition is the construction of giant kites of vibrant colors that are flown near the cemetery. The locals believe that by flying kites with messages written on them, they could communicate with the dead. I don't know how aware Patras was of Guatemalan culture, being from such a small town in Romania in the early 1900s. Still, I think it's amazing that cultures that celebrate Day of the Dead really do celebrate the life a person lived, just as the Mary Cemetery does. Maybe other cultures could learn from them too. It's a little bit of crossover. Anyway, I thought this was really interesting. I know the Mary Cemetery does already get a fair bit of attention as it is such a popular tourist destination in Romania, but I feel like it can't get enough. I think this is so cool. It's a little bit of happiness and a little bit of morbidity at the same time. I just really enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. Leave a like if you did. Hit that subscribe button if you are not subscribed already, and let me know if there's any suggestions you want in the comments down below. Bye guys!